Making sure we're live. I think we're all good. Why haven't we been doing videos lately? It's not that we don't want to. YouTube won't let us.
Wounded and tired, Siri collapsed in the swamp. Some peasants found her and took her to the Baron, Velen's self-appointed ruler. The warlord took the young woman in, had her nursed back to health, then sent her on her way to Novigrad.
So we're gonna do a sound history instead. Our own way. But before we get into that, we just want to tell you, we do not condone or endorse any illegal activities. We just do. That being said, if you want to smoke along with us, you can smoke along with us. Should drink some water. Today we're going to talk about Stonehenge. And why I like Stonehenge.
Stonehenge is a prehistoric megalithic structure on Salisbury Plains in Wiltshire, England, 2 miles, 3 kilometers west of Amesbury. It consists of an outer ring of vertical sarsen standing stones, each around 13 feet high, 7 feet wide, and weighing around 25 tons, topped by connecting horizontal lintel stones, which are held in place with mortise and tenon joints. It feature unique among contemporary monuments. There is inside. These are freestanding trilithons, 2 bulkier vertical standing sarsens, joined by a single lintel. The whole monument, now in ruins, is in a line towards sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice. The stones are now set within earthworks in the middle of the densest of the complex of the Neolithic and Bronze Age monuments in England, including several hundred burial mounds. Stonehenge was constructed in several phases, beginning around 3100 BC, continuing around 1600 BC. The famous circle of the large sarsen stones was placed around 2600 BC and 2400 BC. The surrounding circular earth bank and ditch, which constitute the earliest phase of the monument, had been dated around 3100 BC. Radiocarbon dating suggests that the bluestones were given to their current positions of between 2400 and 2200 BC, although they may have been at the site as early as 3000 BC. One of the most famous landmarks in the United Kingdom, Stonehenge is regarded as a British cultural icon. It has been legally protected as a scheduled monument since the Ancient Monuments Protection Act of 1882 was passed, and its site and its surroundings were added to UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in 1986. Stonehenge is owned by the Crown Estate and managed by the English Heritage. The surrounding land is owned by the National Trust. Stonehenge could have been a burial ground from its earlier beginnings. Deposits containing human bones date back from as early as 3000 BC, when the ditch and bank were first dug, continued for at least another 500 years. Mike Parker Pearson, leader of the Stonehenge Riverside Project, based around Durrington Walls, noted that Stonehenge appears to have been associated with burial from the earliest period of its existence. Stonehenge was like a place of burial from its beginning to the zenith to the mid-3rd millennium BC. The cremation burial during to Stonehenge's sarsen stones is likely just one of the many later periods of the monument's use and demonstrate that it was very much still a domain of the dead. Stonehenge evolved in several construction phases spanning at least 1500 years. There is evidence of large-scale construction on and about the monument, perhaps extending the landscape's time frame from 6,500 years. Dating and understanding the various phases of activity are complicated by the natural chalk and periglacial effects and animal burrowing, poor quality early excavation records, and lack of accurate, scientifically verified dates. The modern phasing most generally accepted, agreed to by archaeologists, is detailed below. Features mentioned in the text are numbered and shown on the plan right. For the monument, archaeologists have found 4 or possibly 5 Mesolithic post holes. One may have been a natural tree throw, which date to about around 8000 BC beneath the site of the tourist car park, which was now in use until 2013. Damn. These held pine posts around 2 feet 6 inches in diameter, which were erected and eventually rotted in place. 3 of these posts and possibly 4 were aligned east-west, which may have had ritualistic significance. Another Mesolithic astronomical site in Britain is Warren Field, which is considered the world's oldest lunisolar calendar, corrected yearly by observing the midwinter solstice. Similarly, but later sites have been found in Scandinavia, a settlement that may have been contemporaneous, I don't know, with the posts that have been found at the Blickmead, a reliable year-round spring 1 mile from Stonehenge. Salisbury Plain was still wooded, but 4,000 years later, during the early Neolithic, people built a causewayed enclosure at Robin Hood's Ball and long burrow tombs in the surrounding landscape. In approximately 3500 BC at Stonehenge, Cursus was built 2,300 feet north of the site as the first farmers began clearing the trees and developing the area. Other previously overlooked stone or wooden structures and burial mounds may date as far back as 4000 BC. Charcoal in the Blickmead camp has been dated to that time. The University of Buckingham's Humanities Research Institute believes that the community who built Stonehenge lived there once for several millennia, making it possibly one of the pivotal places in history of the Stonehenge landscape. The first monument consisted of a circular bank and ditch enclosure made of a late Cretaceous seafold chalk, measuring about 360 feet in diameter, with a large entrance to the northeast and smaller one to the south. It stood in open grassland on a slightly sloping spot. The builders placed the bones of deer and oxen in the bottom of the ditch, as well as some of the worked flint tools. The bones were considerably older than the antler picks used to dig the ditch, and the people who buried them had looked after them for some time prior to burial. The ditch was continuous, but had been dug in sections like the ditches of the earlier causewayed enclosures of the area. The chalk dug from the ditch was piled up to form the bank. This first stage stayed around 3100 BC, after which the ditch began to split up naturally. With the outer edge in the enclosure area is a circle of 56 pits, each around 3.3 feet in diameter, known as the Aubrey holes, after John Aubrey, the 17th century antiquarian, who was thought to have first identified them. These pits in the bank and ditch together are known as the Palisade or Great Ditch. The pits may have contained standing timbers, creating a timber circle, though there is no excavated evidence of them. Though recent excavation has suggested that the Aubrey holes may have been originally used to erect the bluestone circle. If this were the case, it would have been the earliest known stone structure or monument by some 500 years. But there's more than just the circle. There was a second phase of construction that began around 2900 and 2600 BC. 25 of the Aubrey holes are known to contain later intrusive cremation burials. There's also graffiti that had happened on some of the stones. What was the function? Stonehenge was produced by a culture that left no written records. Many aspects of Stonehenge, such as how it was built or for what its purposes was used, remain subject to debate. A number of myths surround the stones. The site, specifically a great trilithon, The encompassing horseshoe arrangement of the center five central philophons, the heel stone, and the embanked avenue are aligned to the sunset of the winter solstice and the opening sunrise of the summer solstice. A natural landform of the monument's location followed this line and may have inspired its construction. It has been conjectured that this design of the monument might allow prediction of eclipse, solstice, equinox, and other celestial events important to the builder's belief system. The excavated remains of culled animal bones suggested that people gathered there to site for the winter rather than the summer. There is little or no direct evidence revealing the construction techniques used by Stonehenge builders. We don't know how they built it. Over the years, various authors have suggested that supernatural elements were used, asserting that the stones could not have been moved otherwise due to their massive size. However, conventional techniques used in Neolithic technology have been demonstrably effective at moving places stones of similar size. So we know that they could have done it, we just don't know how they did it. The most common theory is that they used the track of logs in which the stones were rolled. Another megalithic transport theory involves the use of sleigh running on the track of greased animal fat. An experiment was successful and constructed near Stonehenge in 1995, carrying a 40-ton slab of stone. Of course, we could get into the extraterrestrial theories, where people believe that there's like aliens who use Stonehenge for some reason. But we're not going to get into that. We're just talking history today. Roman era. Apparently during the Roman era there was substantial activity. There were hangings that took place and executions that took place during the medieval era at Stonehenge. And in modern history, it has just been Stonehenge. Some stones have fell due to fierce storms. If you must know. During the 20th century, Stonehenge began to revive as a place for religious significance. This time of adherents of neo-paganism and New Age beliefs, particularly New Druids. The historian Ronald Holton remarked that it was great and potentially uncomfortable irony that modern Druids had arrived at Stonehenge just as archaeologists were evicting the Druids from it. The first such neo-Druid group to make use of the megalithic monument was the Ancient Order of Druids, who performed a mass initiation ceremony there in 1905, where they admitted 250 new members into their organization. The assembly was largely ridiculed by the press, responding to the fact that neo-Druids were dressed up costumes consisting of white robes and fake beards. Bruh. Oh, bruv. But a bunch of groups still go and go stuff. Neo-pagans to this day still go. I guess they just hate neo-pagans. They would have been new at the time, now they're just old. There ain't nothing new about them. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. Just a quick one.